Let's ask General Jerry Boykin. General, I'm very good to have you as always. They're claiming that are the co-signatories on this agreement. They're upset and they're not going along, or so far hinting they're not going along. Do you believe them?
Well, I believe them in the short term, but look, I think this is a sterling example of international leadership. I'm really proud of our president for what he has done and the decision he made today, and I think that what you're going to see is the same thing when he moved the embassy. When he said that he's going to move the embassy to Jerusalem, everybody came back with a very negative reaction, but now you're seeing incrementally, one by one, other countries are making the same decision. I think we're going to see a similar thing in this.
You know, another thing I see, and this goes back to my little nerdy world of economic deals, General, if you'll indulge me, is a pattern here, a pragmatic pattern, more pragmatic than I think critics of the president have given him, and that is that it's got a 90-day sort of a cooling period before it would revert back to some of the sanctions, hoping, I would assume, that either a new deal could be had or the constructs of one could be had. What do you make of that?
Yeah, no, it's 90 to 180 days, so I think that's a very positive thing too, because I think this gives the European countries in particular. I'm not, you know, China and Russia, they're going to do their own thing, but right. I think the European countries, they are the key here, and I think that this gives them time enough to save face and to negotiate in some way, not only with each other, but certainly with Iran, to come up with something that either would make this deal more palatable or to get out of it altogether themselves.
You know, General, I wonder about that. If you think about it, much of the things that Iran wanted out of the deal originally, it got a lot of money, remember, pallets of cash that was shipped to them on private jets, to say nothing of billions that was unfrozen and then handed back to them. So you could make the cynical point here that there's little in it for the Iranians to want to negotiate with the president. What do you think?
Well, I think that there is certainly an incentive for the Iranians in that what they don't want to do is they don't want to see the Europeans. I mean, it's bad enough that the Americans slap the sanctions on them, but they certainly don't want to see the Europeans do it, because Europeans have made huge investments since the deal was signed in 2015, and they don't want to lose those investments. They don't want to lose those businesses or corporations that have established business with the Iranians. That would be a severe blow to their economy.
Well, I have you, sir. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention John Kerry was apoplectic about this, speaking in Italy. A lot of people say that he has been working behind the scenes, sometimes not even behind the scenes, to push foreign leaders to push back at this. What did you make of that?
Hey, this was supposed to be John Kerry's legacy, and his legacy has just been destroyed with one decision by our president. But stop and think about this. You now have Mike Pompeo on the way to North Korea. Do you think Mike Pompeo might be going in a big, stronger position than he would have been if we had stayed in this deal? I think so. Kerry went in with nothing, and he got nothing out of this.
All right, because there's some who are seizing on this and saying, speaking of those North Korean negotiations, sir, that Americans can willy-nilly turn their back on deals here. And I know this was not a treaty, and I know you and I have gotten into this in the past, and that maybe the North Koreans will think, well, what if they, you know, all of a sudden change their mind with us?
I do not see that at all. I don't see that being the case. I see that as Kim Jong-un recognizing that Donald Trump is a substantially different guy with a different agenda than our previous president, and I see him looking at this as an issue of strength and leadership on our part, or at least on the part of the American president. General,
it's always an honor to have you. Thank you very much for joining us, General Jerry Boykin, the former U.S. Army, former U.S. Green Beret. Thank you for your service to this country, remarkable service at that.